Have you ever questioned how to get a shortlist in Mckinsey, BCG or Bain? Or have you ever questioned how to actually get a shortlist? And after the shortlist, how do you really crack case interviews for Mckinsey, BCG or Bain management consulting interviews? Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Shatakshi. I am an ex-Boston Consulting Group BCG management consultant and also an ISB MBA with the Harvard Exchange. And I've also done public policy advisory. So a lot of learnings from management consulting were applied for my public policy career in India and both, of course, outside. And of late on my channel, I've been putting out absolutely free content around management consulting, MBA, career advancement. So feel free to hit on the subscribe and the notification button so that every time I'm putting out content, you get notified and you get to learn as well. And welcome once again. I'm on a chai break, and on this chai break, I am taking you on a very informational and insightful journey on how do you get a shortlist, and after a shortlist, how do you really crack your interviews for management consulting firms. So largely, even if we take a step back, and I'm going to be dividing this video into three parts. First and foremost, a lot of people just are running after management consulting firms because they consider it covetous, or because fortunately, unfortunately, there is a status symbol attached to it. As an ex-BCG management consultant, let me help you unfold what is really about management consulting that really makes it so covetous, apart from the fact that it is high in pay and the entire lifestyle is very flamboyant. And of course, if you want to know about the pay and the flamboyance, I had made two separate videos around the salaries and the working hours and the flamboyance, so feel free to check them out. But if you keep these pointers apart, and I have lived a very purposeful career in the last in my 20s and in the last 10 years, and I have always looked for my learning, my growth. And largely my career, if I look back at BCG, I would say that institutions and organizations such as BCG, Mckinsey and Bain, they are frankly really big institutions in themselves. They actually upskill, they actually provide you that growth, and they provide you a launch pad way better many a times that a top MBA from ISB, in fact Ivy Leagues, can provide. And that's why most of the people, in fact it is typically said that the smartest people in BCG, Mckinsey and Bain leave after 2 years, because many a times it is not a sustainable lifestyle as well. So you learn, you grow, you build relation, and then of course you move out. And if I reflect upon my journey at BCG, there are a lot of learnings. For example, I did this case around increasing the revenue of an FMCG company. They were selling hair oil. That particular case, I applied so much of that learning to my own venture. And similarly, for example, I was working on an education project for a public sector unit in India. And entirely because I largely now work for education sector, a lot of my learnings are coming from that project. So in a nutshell, you really learn to do a lot of sectors, a lot of interesting problems, and you get that toolkit and a mindset whereby you become very agile, very robust whenever you're given problems. And even if you're an entrepreneur, it's a fantastic launchpad. And after my journey at BCG, I was given an offer to become an advisor at Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. Tony Blair is the former UK Prime Minister. So the kind of exits that you get after Mckinsey, BCG and Bain are extremely unparalleled. In fact, many a times they are better than the top business school exits as well, because these people are the creamiest of the creamy layer as well. So that's the first part. What is really the true benefit of a management consulting job? Apart from the salary and apart from the flamboyance, to me, this was actually the truest benefit and the truest unique value proposition of working in BCG, the network that I forged and the problem solving skills that I had picked up. Which brings me towards the second and the main part about this video, because of which you would have probably clicked, which is that, Shatakshi, how do we really get a shortlist? And now that, for example, few of you who are watching this video could already have a shortlist and you're trying to understand how to really crack case interviews. So we are further dividing the entire ecosystem into two parts, about the shortlist and about the case interview hacks. So about the shortlist, you need to know two things again. I know I'm creating a structure beneath structure, and I'm creating a substructure within the structure. It is now just very obvious and it comes just naturally. And coming back to the main point around shortlist, there are two major things that one needs to know when you are actually planning to apply for management consulting, and this largely applies to boutique management consulting firms as well. So point number one is about spike. You need to have a spike in your resume. Let me help you understand what is really a spike. So largely a management consulting CV is 1 page. Please know about this. If you're making a 2-page management consulting CV, there's a high likelihood that it is going to be sitting in a rejection pile. Why? Because if you can't learn how to communicate succinctly for your own resume, then it is obviously understood that you will have a hard time communicating succinctly with the CXO and the CEO when you would be working with the clients. And within BCG, for example, a very implicit understanding is until or unless you're a partner within the firm, and a partner typically has a decade of experience within BCG, you're still supposed to have 1 year of CV. Today, I have almost 10 years of work minus 1 year when I did my ISB MBA. I still have 1-page CV. So please make sure that you have 1-page CV. And on that CV, you have 3 sections. One is academic exposure, second is professional experience, and third is extracurricular activities. Now, it is typically advisable that you have a spike in the one of these 3 sections and you're good in 2 of these 3 sections. What do I mean by this? A spike is that you're extraordinary. You are amongst the top 1% or top 5% amongst your peers. What do I mean by peer? If you're a current student, whatever peers, right, you are surrounded by. So basically the other current students, other undergrads. If you're an MBA student, then the other MBA student. If you're a working professional, then someone with, if you're 3 to 4 years of if you're having 5 to 6 year work experience, then people with 5 to 6 years of work experience, those are your peers, those are your competitive set, right? You're supposed to be in the top 1 to 5% for one of these 3 sections, and you're supposed to be very good for 2 of these 3 sections. Let me give an example. So for example, when I was at St. Stephen's College, and a lot of these learning, let me be very candid, when I was at St. Stephen's College, Mckinsey used to come and hire, and I was not able to crack it. And after I went to ISB MBA, I was able to crack BCG and Mckinsey both. So there is largely a learning curve involved. Like they say that you learn more from your mistakes rather than you learn from your successes. So I by and now really understand what were the mistakes or what were the things I was missing out when I was applying for these Mckinsey BCGs of the world when I was at undergrad at St. Stephen's College. And if I were to give you my own example, when I was at actually St. Stephen's College, I was at Delhi University rank 1. So mind you, I was actually already having a spike. So spike is that I'm rank 1 at Delhi University level, and I had a above experience or a very good quality experience in terms of my internships compared to my peers, right? So that means that I was actually good at a shortlist level. And if I give you an example of my ISB spike, ISB I was not amongst the top quartile or top percentile in terms of GPA, but my Delhi University rank 1 still made me sound very good in terms of academics. However, my spike at ISB MBA campus was actually sitting in my professional work experience, because I had worked for Government of India, I had worked for the former chairman of Mckinsey and Company, and of course without taking names, I had worked for the top ministers in this country on some really important strategic policies. And why is that really unique experience or outstanding experience? Because none of the other 900 people on ISB campus had actually done that kind of work, right? So then it was my spike. Similarly, for example, when I was in St. Stephen's College, I remember of a national level hockey player who got a Mckinsey shortlist. So his spike was actually in the extracurricular activity. So you also need to figure out that, do I have a spike? And typically this is this thought experiment that Mckinsey typically asks someone to do, which is that you close your eyes for 60 seconds and you do it by yourself, right? You close your eyes for 60 seconds and then you figure out what is something that I'm really proud of doing. What is something that I'm really proud of achieving or doing, and automatically your answer will come very naturally to you. I can understand that if a lot of you feel anxious or stressed that Shatakshi, I don't really have a spike, but you within yourself have a spike. Within extracurricular experience and academia, you would know that I am better in 1 out of these 3, right? So you figure out your spike. Now, if for example, Mckinsey is hiring right now and if you have to submit a resume in 2 weeks, then we can't do anything about spike, right? You can't create new work experience, or you largely can't just, you just can't really get extraordinary marks, right? So that's point number 1, which is largely around spike. You need to have a spike, otherwise it will be very hard. And let me also help you appreciate why are they looking for a spike, because it's a very client friendly business. You are directly working with CEOs and CXOs, and these CEOs and CXOs of the client side have been largely dealing in the industry for 30-40 years, and suddenly this 25-year-old or a 21-year-old management consultant comes in, right? They are bound to judge you. Are you even ready to actually advise me? I've been in this goddamn industry for 40-50 years, and you are this new person who's not even lived the world properly. How can you advise me? And that's why at least the shortlist, especially at experience and academic experience level, academia level, really helps the other employer understand that yes, this person is suitable to be client facing because they can talk about things. At the same time, let's really understand the one demand supply dynamic about management consulting. The demand is high and the supply is low. When that happens, that means the employer has a upper edge to take people who are the creamiest of the creamy layer. You can hate it, you can love it, but it is what it is, right? As long as till the time the number of management consulting positions don't open, then the creamy layer will always take that job opening, right? That is how demand and supply work. A lot of people in my comment section on my YouTube channel, I've seen they talk about, Shatakshi, I don't come from a tier 1 school, I'm not an MBA, and I have relatively low grades. Do you think I have a chance at management consulting? Watch till the end, because I'm going to be sharing I know about people who have been able to crack into management consulting even without being from target school. So watch till the end, because that's the section I have reserved till the end. Which brings me towards the second point around shortlist, right? Remember, we said the entire management consulting, how to break your career into management consulting, is divided into 2 parts. A, shortlist, B, case interviews. Within shortlist, we said spike, and within shortlist, the second point is around referrals. Now, what is this entire power around referrals? So, associate consultants, partners can refer people internally. Now, having said this, the power of a partner referral is just way too high, because in Mckinsey, BCG and Bain, largely there will be no one below the level of a partner who will be interviewing you. And that's why at least Mckinsey, BCG and Bain in itself become really the powerhouse, because it is very hard to game the system. You might know a manager within BCG, Mckinsey, but it is very hard that you will know a partner. And that's why only really the creamiest layer get in. Many a times the sons and daughters of ministers or top bureaucrats or even top conglomerate CEOs get the shortlist, but many a times they don't really clear the interview round. The interview rounds are important. It's fairly and highly a meritocratic firm. At least I can speak for BCG, and that's been my experience after working with the former chairman of Mckinsey and Company as well. So that's section number 1. That's largely around shortlist, what you need to focus on, getting referrals from, if preferred, from a partner. And then largely the second point is definitely around getting a spike. You have to focus on your work experience. You have to get good grades. You can hate it, you can love it, but it is what it is, right? So which brings me towards the second part of the entire equation, which is around case interview hacks. Now, like I said about my own journey, right, that I was not able to crack case interview for Mckinsey when I was in St. Stephen's College, and I was of course later able to do that when I was applying for BCG and Mckinsey, and I was sitting for interviews during ISB MBA, and I understand what is really the challenge. People don't know where to start. People don't know what are the good resources. There are so many resources out there, they don't know how to divide or really clear out which one is a good resource, which one is not. Last but not the least, case interviews particularly cannot be done in silos. For example, you just can't read 10 case interviews that this is the question, this is the answer. You can't just imagine that you will clear it. You need to be able to do it live with a person, because it's all a game about practice. It is like a math. It's a muscle that you build with time. And at the same time, doing diverse kind of cases is also important, because at BCG, for example, for 2 years, I never ever did one single problem for the entire time. And even if, for example, there was one revenue problem that I was looking in year 1 and I was looking at revenue problem in year 2, both the problems were just so diverse that there was no commonality in between. That's why you are supposed to do a lot of high quality cases with a high quality person from a high quality source, which is something that I did not do honestly when I was in St. Stephen's College, and of course I later on did. So you need to be able to do these things after you get a shortlist. And I think the unfortunate reality is a lot of people tell me later on that, Shatakshi, I got this shortlist from Dalberg, but I was rejected. And that typically happens because you have just submitted your resume without even starting your case interview journey. On a formal MBA campus, what typically happens is, if today you are getting a shortlist, you will have at least month's time frame to prepare cases, and then your interview will happen. But in a marketplace model, where just applying, you will quickly get an interview invite, and in 5 days you will be supposed to actually crack a case interview, and you would not be ready for that junction, and you would not be ready for that level of interaction. And that's why I always advise people that if you're planning, if you're gunning to actually become a management consultant, and if you're already sharpening your CV, please make sure that you have at least warmed up yourself with at least 10 cases, then submit your resume, so that if a call comes to you, you just need to do 20-30 more cases. And of course, it depends how much time do you get. But people typically reach out to me after the rejection, and I'll be like, hey, you should have told me before, so that I could have told you that do at least 10 cases by the time you submit your resume. And taking a full circle here about this video, right, that how do you really get into management consulting? I understand that getting into management consulting is pretty hard because there's a lot of information asymmetry. There's a lot of stuff that we know. For example, in this limited video, I could just share limited things, right? It is, for example, I covered almost 1.5 to 2 months of journey between my shortlist day and my final interview day. And frankly, between my shortlist day and when I had thought that I want to get into BCG, there was a long 3 months of journey as well. Which brings me towards the last point, because I understand and I appreciate there is an information asymmetry when you apply for management consulting roles. And that's why I'm coming to the final part of this entire video, that I have been particularly very passionate about helping people. And that's why at my education venture Global Governance Initiative, we run an impact fellowship program. And largely the reason is threefold. First and foremost, around the shortlist. So we have masterclasses directly with the CEOs and the partners at Global Governance Initiative who are invited from Mckinsey, BCG and Bain. So Rajat Gupta, who is the first non-American Indian to ever become the global CEO of Mckinsey, actually took our first management consulting masterclass. Martin Reeves, who is the global BCG Henderson Institute chairman, he's the global chairman of Henderson Institute, took actually our masterclass. Similarly, in India, when you name it, the top leaders and the top partners from BCG, in fact, Arindam Bhattacharya, Arindam is actually one of the top 6 consulting names in this country. Similarly, Suresh Subudhi. In fact, tomorrow there is a masterclass for GGINs with a managing director and partner from BCG. When you learn from such people directly, you not only just learn, but you also build a network. And I personally know of people who were able to leave a very decent impression on these partners to eventually get a referral from BCG, and likewise for Bain and Mckinsey. So that's point number 1, because getting access to a partner in a more in-person format, in a live format, is typically rare, and that is the market failure that we bridge when we invite these partners to actually train, and not just partners, the chairmen and the CEOs, which is Mckinsey BCG. The second point is the most interesting one, because now I am finally coming to the section where a lot of people ask me that, Shatakshi, I'm not from target school, I do not have a great GPA, or I have not done internship. Let me be very candid, because I don't want to give any false hopes. If you're not from a target school, if you have 50-60 percentile, and if you largely do not even have an internship experience, then I'm sorry to say that the probability of success will be very less, because we are not even talking about spike. We are saying that we are below average across all the 3 levers. Then it is going to be a little hard journey for you. But if you, let's say you say that, Shatakshi, I have good work experience, I scored decently well in my school, but I'm not from the target school. So for example, then at GGI, we have more than 20 plus employment partners who are boutique management consulting firm. In fact, one of the MBBs also hired from GGI. I can't release the name because we are still in talks of formalizing the partnership, but you get the point. And because they specially hire from the GGI pool, then their probability of success really increases, because they trust the brand GGI. They understand that we intake people accordingly and we train them accordingly. That's when your chances of success really enhance, because you're part of a very small pool, specialized pool, from where these boutique management consulting and management consulting are hiring from. So that's point number 2, which brings me towards the entire case interview preparation point, which was largely around how do you really practice cases. And because of that, we have actually mentors from McKinsey, BCG, Bain, Dalberg, Britspan and Carney at GGI, and all these mentors take out time to prepare you actually for case interviews. And not just the mentors take out time at GGI Impact Fellowship, you're mapped to really high quality buddies with whom you can actually solve problems. Please know this, that anybody will not do, right? It has to be a high quality buddy. Why? Because you might end up learning wrong things if you just practice your cases with any Tom, Dick and Harry. So doing a case with someone who's highly motivated and highly informed about this industry, and that's the ecosystem that we create within GJ Impact Fellowship, then your chances of success really enhances. Which brings me almost towards the last point, which is that we also have a system through which we increase your chances of having a spike in your resume, which is that at GJ we run GJ Impact Lab, which is a non-profit consulting arm, and through that we advise non-profits such as Make a Difference, Teach for India, and many other NGOs in this country. And you get a chance to actually become a consultant on that piece. So you not just learn, but you become a consultant before you sit for an interview. And I know of so many GJ fellows who got back and told me that, hey Shatakshi, we have BCG Mckinsey offer, and one of the key things that the partner liked on the entire resume was that we were not just any academic student or a working professional. We had already done consulting. Then the partner really trusts you that this guy or this girl could do consulting at BCG Mckinsey or any other boutique consulting because he or she has done it before with a non-profit NGO in advance. So yes, that's what we offer at GJ Impact Fellowship. So shall you be interested to pursue and kill that information asymmetry for yourself? Feel free to check out GJ Impact Fellowship at globalgovernanceInitiative.org. That's it from my side. This was my tea break. I hope you like what we had to discuss. If you like chai as well, please feel free to tell me in the comment section so that we both could do cheers with chai. And like I always say, I am sharing absolutely free advice and my information and experiences around consulting, MBA, and of course personal finance. So feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye.